Hello, and thank you for joining me. My name is Dr. Carrie Foote. I am a professor of sociology at Indiana University, Indianapolis, co-author of the Williams Institute report, chair of the HIV Modernization Movement Indiana, and I have been living with HIV since 1988. In this presentation, I'll walk through what the data show about the enforcement of Indiana's HIV criminalization laws related to body fluid and waste enhancements. Indiana currently has 6 laws that criminalize people living with HIV across both the criminal and health codes. This Williams Institute report examines the enforcement of HIV-related penalty enhancements tied to allegations of exposure to bodily fluids and waste, looking not just at charges and outcomes, but also at the context in which these cases occur. This report focuses on 2 statutes: battery by bodily fluid or waste, and malicious mischief by body fluid or waste. In both, the underlying conduct is already illegal, but the penalty becomes a felony when the person accused is living with HIV. Penalties increase further when the alleged victim is a public safety official, or when transmission is alleged, with possible sentences ranging up to 12 years under Indiana law. The analysis covers 2012 through 2023 and includes data from administrative court records about charges and outcomes and probable cause affidavits showing incident context. Although these laws also apply to hepatitis and tuberculosis, this study examines only cases where HIV was identified. This allows us to see how HIV-specific enhancements are being applied in practice. Over this period, we identified 42 people across 51 cases, most under the battery by bodily fluid statute, nearly half with a public safety official enhancement. Cases were highly concentrated geographically, with 5 counties accounting for about 2/3 of all cases. Enforcement increased after 2018, showing this is not a historic issue, but an ongoing pattern of prosecution in Indiana. Most people charged were men, white, and 93% were indigent and required a public defender. Most alleged victims were law enforcement officers or civilians, with some incidents involving medical providers. One of the most important findings in this, 0 cases alleged HIV transmission and 0 cases involved conduct capable of transmitting HIV. The enhancement is being applied even where medical evidence shows no possible risk of HIV transmission. Across cases, 82% involved saliva, primarily spitting, 3% involved urine, 15% involved blood on clothing or intact skin. None of these exposure types are HIV transmission routes. Yet felony level enhancements were applied based solely on HIV status, not the level of harm or risk. In 22% of cases, alleged victims were advised to undergo HIV testing or take PEP medication. In most of those cases, the exposure was saliva only, which cannot transmit HIV. HIV testing and post-exposure prophylaxis should be used only after high-risk exposures, not in cases with no transmission risk, like those documented in these criminal cases. These responses reflect outdated assumptions, and they contribute to unnecessary medical costs, heightened fear, and stigma. Many incidents occurred in moments of crisis. 46% of defendants showed signs of mental distress or intoxication. 54% of incidents involved officer use of force before the alleged act. In the few intentional exposure cases, 91% were already restrained. This shows that enhancements are often being applied in chaotic, escalated situations rather than deliberate attempts to cause harm. These enhancements rarely appeared alone. Cases often included multiple HIV-related battery by body fluid charges, plus 91 additional non-HIV charges. Looking at cases with final outcomes, 40% had all charges dismissed. All convictions resulted from plea deals. No cases went to trial. HIV-related convictions resulted in higher conviction rates, longer average sentences, more frequent incarceration in the DOC when compared to the non-HIV charges in the same cases. Only 10 cases involved the malicious mischief statute, and most appeared to be applied outside its intended scope. The law was designed for fluids placed in a location for involuntary contact, yet 8 of 10 cases involved allegations related to non-disclosure in sexual relationships. None involved transmission. The only 2 cases appropriately charged were dismissed. This suggests inconsistent and incorrect use of the statute. The data point to several concerning patterns. The enhancement punishes HIV status, not harmful conduct. It applies felony penalties to acts with no transmission risk. Many cases occur during mental health or restraint situations. Sentencing outcomes are more severe than comparable offenses. In short, people are being punished more harshly because of a medical condition, not because greater harm occurred. These findings can be used to improve case outcomes and advance reform. Applying current HIV science to these cases helps correct outdated assumptions about transmission risk, reduces unnecessary and costly HIV testing and treatment, and supports outcomes that are tied to the underlying offense rather than HIV status. These findings also help inform efforts to modernize Indiana's HIV enhancement laws so they better reflect current science. Here are resources for legal support, scientific reference, and policy guidance, including HIV risk science materials that help align practice with evidence-based understanding of HIV transmission. Thank you for taking the time to learn about these findings. You can read the full report and explore additional research materials at hivmodernization.org/research. If you support efforts to modernize Indiana's HIV criminal laws, we encourage you to scan the QR code to sign on in support of reform and join our newsletter listserv. Please feel free to contact me at foote@iu.edu with questions or collaboration inquiries. Thank you.